It's time for Tonia's Kitchen, taking you around the world of food and wine. Here is Tonia King.
Joining me today, Rebecca Abbott and Jennifer West. We're talking about the brand new book, AirFryer All Day. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
The whole craze with AirFryer seems to have really kind of gotten out of control. And I was reading your story about how you guys got started, and it's pretty wild. Why don't you share that with us?
So Jennifer and I have very different backgrounds. Jennifer was already blogging. I had taught culinary arts at a high school, and I'll summarize really fast. I became a stay-at-home grandma. And then COVID happened. So we both randomly, we're in opposite parts of the country. I'm in Arizona, she's in Louisiana. We both signed up for a food photography class online. And she and I met in the class online in a Facebook group, and we became friends and kind of started talking. And we were developing recipes for other bloggers using the air fryer along with other appliances. And so she started Easy Air Fryer Recipes, a Facebook group with just 10 of us in it. And it quickly grew. Jennifer and I, again, had only talked a couple of times on the phone. We messaged on Facebook Messenger, mostly about the photography class. And we became friends that way. And so after, I don't know, maybe a couple of months, this Facebook group grew to maybe 10, 20,000 people. And
Wow.
She in random conversation said, we should start an air fryer blog. And now again, we'd never met in person. We'd only talked a couple of times. We knew each other for maybe 6 months at this point. And I said, well, I don't know anything about blogging, but I can create recipes and I can take pictures. So she's like, let's do it. Let's do it. And so the next day we started a business. I filed the paperwork here in Arizona, which is really funny. The funny part of the story is we tell people don't share personal information with strangers and start a business. But for us, it worked. And, it was that total trust and leap of faith, because we knew when we talked to each other, we had so many things in common. And we joke that we're sisters separated at birth. And people even ask us now, like, are you guys sisters? We have so many things in common. Our backgrounds are so similar. Things that we've done in our lives are like almost parallel. Some of the things that we've done, and it's kind of uncanny. So it worked out, and we're very similar personalities. We're both type A's and hard workers, and it worked. We love being creative and trying to figure out ways to make things work in the air fryer.
Sounds like it was something meant to be.
Very much so. Very much so. Of course, the other funny part of that story is the first time Jennifer flew to Arizona during COVID, we both had masks on, and I'm picking her up at the airport, and we've never met before. And so I'm trying to, what does she look like? What do I look like? So we found each other, and it was all the stars were aligned in our meeting and this business.
Let me ask you, because I guess you both have been cooking a long time, and I've been cooking a long time, and air fryers never used to be part of our equipment, right? Air fryers are kind of a relatively new piece of equipment in the whole culinary scheme of things. So did you both get started using them and then started to share recipes, or how did the whole air fryer thing even come up, just because of that Facebook group?
I bought my first Cosori air fryer used, and it just happened to be a white one, which is exactly what I wanted. I bought my first one used from somebody that used it a couple times, and then they were like, I don't understand it. And so it was their loss was my gain, I guess. So I got it for like $50. I'm like, score. But I wanted to like play around with it and kind of like, okay, what's everybody talking about? And then once I started comfortable with it, everything fell into place. I'm like, this thing is really cool. And then that's when I had just finished doing a cheesecake recipe for a blogger, and it was horrible because it took me over an hour. It cracked. I had to do the water bath. I was trying to figure out how to make it perfect. I did it a couple of times till I got it where I could take photos of it. And I thought, I'm going to try making a cheesecake in the air fryer and see what happens. And the rest is history. Like it was gorgeous. It didn't crack. It didn't sink. It's smooth and creamy. It took 25 minutes. There was no water bath. And I'm like, okay, this thing is cool.
When we first started, like, I think it was like it was the beginning of like the air fryer surge. And we really did a ton of trial and error. But I've got to say that Becky, I mean, like, she is just a baker at heart. So she was doing like the most trial and error. I mean, I think I stuck with a lot of the savory foods, just to be on the safe side. You know, I was with all the had all the savory foods, and so those were relatively easy. She was like doing all the baking, and you know, and she had to, I mean, like, she was definitely having to configure some things and make it a couple of times, and but then she perfected it, and it's awesome now because you know, we were like the first people online that even had an air fryer cheesecake, and now you look and there's like hundreds of them. So I mean, it was,
Yeah.
you know, it's definitely cool that we've inspired a lot of people for sure.
Absolutely. But, you know, there still are a lot of people that really don't know what air fryers are, what they do. And would you compare it to like having a crock pot on the counter?
Yeah, honestly. I mean, like, I keep mine on the counter and I probably use it more often than I use my crock pot, even though it's like cold season right now here. So that'll be getting used more. But yeah, I mean, and I love it because no one else in my house would actually use the crock pot but me. But with the air fryer, like, my daughter's using it, I'm using it. I mean, so it's definitely a most used thing. I mean, I literally liken it to the microwave. And I think I use the air fryer now more than I actually use my own microwave. So there's just so many things that you can do with it. Reheating foods is way better in the air fryer. If I can pop it in the air fryer, I'll pop it in the air fryer and not use my microwave. It's very rare that I use the microwave. Even like, we'll make breakfast in the morning for my daughter. I'll put like her hash browns and sausage in the air fryer, you know, and make her pancakes. And she
Wow.
loves it. Like, it's the ease of use. Once you start using it all the time, you start thinking about, oh, I can pop this in there and make it a lot faster. So I love it.
And I was going to say that the crock pot on the counter, though, the air fryer is much faster.
Mhm.
And now we just did this whole series of frozen foods that you can make in the air fryer, like frozen steak. You know, instead of having to forward think of, okay, even with a crock pot or slow cooker, okay, I've got to think ahead. I need to still prep that, put it in there, and then start it before I go to work and let it cook all day. With the air fryer, you can just pop a frozen steak in, solid as a rock, frozen, and in less than 20 minutes, it'll be cooked. And it's juicy. We just did steak, chicken, vegetables. I did corn on the cob that was frozen. I did like a whole meal of solid frozen right out of the freezer, no thawing, stuck it in the air fryer, and it all cooked perfectly.
Wow, that's really incredible. And are there different size air fryers? And supposedly, you know, it's a great healthy way to cook food. But yet, in reading your book, I was also noticing that you still need a little bit of oil. So give me the details on that.
So it is by far healthier because you're not frying something, so you're not getting all the tons of fat and calories. But if you want to crisp things up, you do usually spritz a tad bit of oil. So I mean, you're talking about you know, a teaspoon to maybe a tablespoon, depending on how much you have going in your air fryer. Versus if you're actually frying something, you know, you're using, you know, a cup or more of oil, so you can actually fry the food. So it's definitely healthier, but not everything requires oil, and you don't have to do it, especially like, there are a lot of frozen foods. I mean, like, Becky and I have talked about it a ton. Like, when you're making foods from the freezer and putting them in the air fryer, it's actually healthier because when you're done cooking those foods and you pull them out, there's like, the air has blown around, it's cooked, but you can see it's also released a lot of the grease and or fats and calories, I guess, that are included in your frozen foods, the preservatives. You know, I feel like it makes everything a little bit healthier. Now, the meals that you put in there, you know, that health version is definitely going to be up to the consumer, but even your frozen foods, I feel like it pulls some of that fat and grease out of those foods. And then when you are like frying chicken, like, I'm not having to fry it in a skillet with oil. Like, it's literally spritzing it with oil, like maybe a tablespoon for, you know, 5 or 6 pieces of chicken. And that's coating both sides and then air frying it. So a
Wow.
tablespoon versus, you know, probably a cup is what I'm guessing if you're, you know, adding an inch or more of oil into your skillet. So I mean, you definitely save on that. And I feel like it's definitely healthier that way. And then when you're making foods like that too, they're really crispy. It's kind of hard sometimes to believe that it's not been fried in oil. and the meat's juicy. I mean, like it's just it comes out really good. And there are different sizes and different types of air fryers. We both typically stick with the Cosori air fryer. I know the one that I use all the time is the dual blaze. So it's the 6-quart dual blaze.
We're talking with Becky Abbott and Jennifer West about the brand new book, Air Fryer All Day. All right, let's dig into some of these great recipes. Can you share some with us?
Bacon wrapped shrimp, I love those. I mean, so if anyone is new or New Year resolution and they're trying to cut carbs or doing keto and increase protein and fats, bacon wrapped shrimp are awesome. They're done in 10 minutes and they will disappear extremely fast. That's in our cookbook.
So you're going to grab a pound of shrimp, and it could be, we like to use the larger shrimp and it's already peeled and deveined because that's the easiest way to start out when you're busy. Coat the air fryer basket with a little bit of olive oil spray. And that's one of those recipes where you don't need any oil at all. We use the olive oil spray just so that the bacon doesn't stick because the bacon has its own natural grease. So you're going to put together a teaspoon of black pepper, half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, half a teaspoon of brown sugar. So just a little bit of brown sugar to give it that sweetness. And you're going to mix it all together and then lay the shrimp out on a baking sheet and sprinkle it with all of those seasonings. And then wrap each shrimp with a piece of the bacon. We cut the bacon into thirds or into half, depending on how big of shrimp you use, because you don't need a whole piece of bacon for your shrimp.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're doing center cut bacon, they usually have like the fats kind of cut off of it. So I'll try to get center cut bacon and then just cut those in half and they just wrap perfectly around the shrimp.
Perfect.
Yep, and that's it. And then you're going to put those in the air fryer, air fry at 390 degrees for about 8 to 10 minutes until the bacon is crispy. That's it.
Wow.
That's
Sounds
it.
simple, simple and delicious.
Very simple, very delicious. And like I said, it's a great appetizer, but it's also, it's a great meal too. The cheesecake is like, I feel like it comes out so much creamier because you are not cooking it for an hour where it doesn't take away all that flavor from the cream cheese. So you need 1.5 cups of graham crackers, which is about 12 whole graham crackers, 8 tablespoons of butter melted, which is about half a cup, and then 24 ounces of cream cheese, which is 3 packs. They're 8 ounces each. 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, 2 large eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla. And then we topped it with a can of cherry pie filling. You obviously don't have to do that. So you're going to combine, we used a food processor to crush up those graham crackers and mix it with the butter. And then you press it in the bottom of a 7-inch springform pan. That's what fits in our 5.8 Cosori air fryer. And then you're going to blend together the cream cheese, the sweetened condensed milk, the eggs, and the vanilla, and then just pour that into over the crust. And then you are going to air fry that at 300 degrees for about 20 to 22 minutes. That's it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it'll still be a little wet, but it won't have that big jiggle. And then let it cool. And then we let it cool for about 6 to 8 hours or overnight until it sets. And then we topped it with the cherry pie filling. And like I said, there's something about that filling. The cream cheese is just so much creamier and richer. You sit in the oven for an hour and dry out. So.
Well, and one of the things I wanted to say about the air fryer cheesecake, it really is like one of the most delicious cheesecakes I've ever had. And I don't know if I think it's a density thing for me. So I love cheesecake, but sometimes they can be like too dense and really thick and heavy and rich.
Yes.
So this one, I think because you're air frying it, it's almost got like this light, fluffy texture to it. So it is so good. And I'll say this too. This is like our signature dish. And when the New York Times picked it up, it also became their most shared recipe in 2022.
Wow.
So it's definitely a fan favorite. Yeah.
That's great.
And if you want other flavors, Jennifer's made this into, we have an Oreo, cheesecake. And we also have a pumpkin cheesecake that's not in the cookbook, but it's on our blog, airfryingfoodie.com. Fan favorites that are in the book. The rest of the recipes that are in the cookbook are exclusive. They are not on our blog. You can only get them from the cookbook. So you just have to get the book.
Yes,
to get all that.
absolutely. Let's do one more. How about maybe a savory dish? We did the dessert. We did kind of the appetizer. Let's do a savory dish.
Share your harvest casserole, Becky. This one is exclusive to the book, but still, share this one. It is so
That
good.
one, that recipe is fun because when I tested it, it was like, oh, that's really good. Yeah, we'll use that.
It's got sausage, it's got apple, it's got cranberries, it's got sweet potatoes in it. It's phenomenal. Like the flavors, the blend is just, it's perfect.
It's 1 29-ounce can of sweet potatoes drained, and then 2 medium Granny Smith apples. Core those, chop them up, peel them, put them into like small little dice, bite size. 6 ounces of a smoked beef sausage. Also, you can just slice those. And then half of a cup of a yellow onion, which chopped up. And I just say like half of a small yellow onion. A 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar, a 1/4 cup of dried cranberries, a 1/4 cup of slivered almonds, 4 tablespoons of butter melted, a teaspoon of vanilla, and then half a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And you are going to just mix all of those ingredients together and then put it in an 8-inch round casserole. If you only have a cake pan or a pie pan or even the springform pan, it'll all fit in that. And then air fry that at 300 degrees for 25 minutes. I did stir it every 5 minutes, and that's it. Most of our recipes, cutting everything up and then putting it all in the bowl, that's the most time consuming part of it. Is we just want to try to make it as easy as possible, where you just put everything in the bowl and then air fry it all together. But the apples and the sausage and the sweet potatoes and the onions, but when you get it all together, it just melts in your mouth. Those flavors just harmonize for some reason. So that is definitely a dish that every person that's tried it has liked. I haven't heard one person say they don't like it yet.
Well, I can't wait to try it. That sounds absolutely delicious. We're talking with Becky Abbott and Jennifer West about their brand new book, Air Fryer All Day. Is this your first book together?
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's available everywhere, right? Where can we find out more details? And how do we find you on social media?
You can find us on social media at Airfrying Foodie. So Instagram at Airfrying Foodie, on Facebook at Airfrying Foodie also. We have a YouTube channel that's also Airfrying Foodie. So Airfrying Foodie, and you'll be able to find us. But for the books, you can find our books online on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, Bookshop, Books A Million. Well, oh yeah, Harvest. You can find it at
Harvest. It was also at Target.com and Walmart.com as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. It's really been a pleasure chatting with you guys. I really enjoyed it, and the book is exciting. Yeah. Well, I wish you lots of luck as you continue this journey.
Thank you, Tonia. Thank you for having us. It was nice talking with you.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you'll subscribe to this podcast as we continue to take you around the world of food and wine on Tonia's Kitchen.